Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, a very, very, very
Ooh. Where are we?
warm welcome. End of the live video.
Here we are.
Okay.
Screen changed a little bit. Sorry about that.
All right. Well, again, a very, very, very warm welcome to our weekly live session of CWA Conscious World Agents. My name is Arturo.
And my name is Claudia Arturo.
We are so happy that you are watching us. Why? Well, we want to send out a message of love, a message of humility, a message of consciousness, message of compassion every time. So our weekly live sessions are, of course, free, totally free, and well, we want to help people what helps us in our daily life.
Mm-hmm.
And the topic for this week was humility.
Mm-hmm.
And what does humility really mean? In our, at least in our opinion, in our way of thinking.
Yeah.
Being humble. How can you show that? And do we have any other announcements today? Well, maybe the experience day.
Yeah, well, we can do that later, yeah.
Do you want to start?
I don't mind. Why don't you start?
I start, okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, let's see if... I don't see it here live. Oh, here it is. Okay, cool, nice.
Yeah, is it all working?
Everything is working.
Very good.
Well, I wrote something about humility. That's gone. Okay, sorry. What's the benefit of being humble? And being humble doesn't mean that you think less of yourself, but that, how do you say it?
Think of yourself less.
That you think of yourself less. That's it. Yeah. That was the quote that was also on the...
I don't know whose quote it is. I think we had it yesterday. Stephen someone. I can't remember. Yeah.
But I love the quote. So being humble doesn't mean I make myself smaller or another person is better or higher. No. It's about yourself, that you know your strength, but you don't need to show it every time. Mm-hmm. And being humble has so many benefits for us. We try to understand the other person, so the understanding comes in, the connection will be better. You will feel more love for yourself, but also for the other person. Most of the times you come to a better solution when you have the conversation with each other. It gives you much more insights, much more possibilities. It will raise your level of consciousness. So many benefits, and still a lot of people don't see how they can be humble. So if it gives so many benefits, why don't we do it more often? Well, one of the things that you really can see for yourself, are you humble, or if the other person is humble, is especially in the communication with each other. And then even more go into detail in the listening part. And I wrote a whole list of, well, how do you say it? Equations of comparisons?
Suggestions or...
Suggestions, yeah. Well, just look at yourself. Are you listen to understand, or are you listen to react?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Are you listening? Yeah.
Are you listening?
Yeah.
Yeah. my English lessons today are...
When you're speaking a lot of Dutch, then it becomes double Dutch. Okay. No, but it's fine. It's like, are you listening or do you listen?
Yeah. Okay.
And then both are fine.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Every time. And that's the second one. Are you listening to learn or to be right?
Yeah.
And this is a nice example. I'm learning every time when for my English language. But also, are you listening to cooperate or to convince other people? Are you listening to we win or I win and you lose? Are you listening to defend yourself sometimes, or are you looking for solutions? And much, much more. And look for yourself. How are you in the conversation? How are you in the listening part? Are you asking the questions, or are you only saying what you want to say? And you can also notice it for the other person. If he or she is constantly reacting or really listening to you. If the other person is humble and really sincerely wants to listen to you, what does it mean for you? Probably you will feel that you've been hurt. Is that, not hurt like pain, but heard, yeah. So look for yourself, how are you in the conversations? And it doesn't mean being humble and showing humility, that you have to accept everything another person does to you. No. You can be humble and still say, well, I have another thought about this, and I just want to set my boundary here. But if you do it from a position of being humble, then there is probably less charge, or maybe not even a charge in the way you say it. You can stay calm and still be clear. And that's why but I'm now talking, I think being humble is really a great value to show within your relationship, within the family, but also in business, to your customers. If you lead people, if you are really the leader, how humble can you be? And I think if we show more humbleness for each other, towards each other, we have a good step heading towards more compassion, more freedom, more peace.
Beautiful. Yeah, and about being humble in the workplace as well, and in business. I think yesterday was a good example of that, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was. Yesterday we were we had a third day of a group, an international company. We trained them in October, and now we had the third day to come back to each other. What's going already very well, and where can we even improve? And one of the parts that we were talking about was humility. And what you see is that this company has also in different other companies some plants and some sites. And how humble can you be to the other sides, although you think you do it better, although you think you really are the biggest one of them? But how can you stay humble and still have this connection? And still maybe having the lead, but it's not having the lead, it's really listening and come to a solution for everybody, where everybody has the feeling, yes, I'm in. Or that they think, here they come again. And they don't ever listen to my solution, it's always their solution. Is that what you mean, that part? Yeah. That was really beautiful.
People didn't realize that, and also that how much that creates unity, rather than they became one learning team, than rather being, like you say, I'm right and you're wrong, or we're better than you. And that was a good insight for them to have.
Yeah, and then it's always nice to see then how difficult sometimes it is for people to go from the mind to the heart. And listening with the mind is most of the times you're listening also in a reactive mode. If you listen with the heart, then you're really much more open. You're willing to learn. You're willing to listen. You're willing to come to a solution, and not your solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of people don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
So it's something that we discussed yesterday as well. You know that we are not taught from a very young age how to connect with the heart.
No.
If you've never done that, if you only had to be rational, then it's very difficult to go to that place. We saw that yesterday as well. People said, I really find that hard. And then there are some tools, of course, how to do that. But it was wonderful to see, and the willingness.
The willingness was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's important. If you are humble and the way you approach life, then there is a willingness to learn also.
Yeah, that is a great definition, I think, from that. And what I also liked in your post was that you wrote, are you looking for finding opportunities or finding mistakes?
Yeah, that's nice. That is
people are often looking at, what's the good thing here, or what can I learn from here, this, or how can we both move forward from here, or are you going to look at what went wrong?
Yeah, and well, everywhere where you work or in a relationship, there's always something going, let's say, wrong. There will be mistakes. And maybe you have to reframe it like there are results that you didn't expect or you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're constantly focusing on that one, then it's not being humble. You want to be right. You want to convince other people that they need to change. And humbleness is also looking at yourself, looking in the mirror. Okay, wow, yeah. I'm sorry, I've done this not in the way I should have done it.
Mm. Nice.
Yeah.
Like honorable.
Yeah, but it's also showing honor to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only to the other person, it's also being humble for yourself. It's such a great, how do you say it, virtue?
Virtue,
yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, I loved it, and I think we can actually talk a long time about humility. There's so many ways where we can see where humility is really at play and the benefits from it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. My post, guess what, was also about humility.
No!
Yeah, really.
Wow!
It's like incredible. I was listening the other day to a lady who is a very wise lady in my opinion, Patricia Ann Davis, and she spoke about WAR.
War.
We are right, or we are righteous, you know, and I think that's really what so much that type of energy is so much now present in the world. You know, it's about really us and them, and everybody wants to be right. Everybody thinks their opinion is the right opinion. They think their truth is the truth, and their way of thinking how things should be going, that's the only way forward. And to me, it's like, what happens when we put humility in there? Let's reframe this whole story, and let's add humility in here. And how would the situation look like then? How would you act then? How would you think then? And how would you relate then? And that was, my post was about that. And I invited people to have to consider a time when they really felt, when they met someone in their life who was perhaps a role model, who really embodied humility.
Yeah.
And I think we all will have known someone in our life who really embodied humility. And that person, you know, how did that person behave when you would tell them a story, or when you would tell them your viewpoints or things like that, how would that person then respond? And often when we then ask people, they would say, like yesterday we did that reflection with these people as well in the group, and they said they felt loved, they felt heard, like you say, they felt witnessed, they felt seen, they felt there was taken time for them to be really listened to. There was no judging going on. So all these things created a sense of safety, a sense of openness, willingness to come together, rather than, two heads clashing against each other, wanting to be right. It's like there was an openness. And how did that make you feel? Well, it actually made you feel also physically. It had not just an effect in your mind, but also physically. You could relax more, and there was more trust and less tension. So what I suggested was, how are you sometimes then? Are you sometimes that person to someone else? Can you be curious as that? Can you have that open mind like that to be there for others in a conversation? And what would be the benefit if we were like that? Imagine if we were all a bit more like that. How would our communication go? It would be, I think, less confrontational. And actually, perhaps we could even end up having no war anymore, because we would look at what is the benefit for all, not then what is in it for me. And I think we're heading more and more into that place now. I think we're at a huge crossroads here of wanting to be right all the time. Or are we actually starting to realize and having like a spiritual awakening here, saying we're all in this together and on this planet. If we really want to get on with a peaceful life and a supportive life for one another where everybody can thrive, we will need to reflect on what we've been doing in the past, if that was really so helpful. So I gave an experiment to people like you, just for today. Can you do can you choose 2 moments when someone is telling you something or they share something about how they see things? Could you be in that space of curiosity? Could you be in that open-mindedness state? And how would that help? How would that change something? How could that be more beneficial? And just to become familiar with that, because when you do more of that, you could actually create a new habit. Your new habit would be that you are much more coming from a stance of listening, coming from a stance of wanting to understand one another rather than wanting to be right, sharing your truth, sharing your frame of thoughts that you have considered as the reality that is the only one that is valid, but there are so many truths, there's so many planes of truth. And can we meet somewhere? Can we meet each other in the middle? And I think that's a wonderful quality to cultivate. Like you said, it's a virtue, and it's something we can learn to cultivate. When we do more of that, when we practice more of that, we start to embody it more and more. And it really helps. It helps to build emotional resilience. It helps to get a greater, like you said, you mentioned self-love. It gives you self-love, but how would that mean that if you practice humility, how would that mean that you become, that person who really says, I love myself, and what does it mean? Because you know that you've done everything to do it right in a way that is not built on ego, but more from that heart space, to do the best for yourself and others. And that, when you do more of that, you get a sense of self-appreciation, and you start to love yourself more in that way. I think also that's what you meant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because you mentioned that, and I wondered if people would understand. But I think that's the where you came from. I don't know, maybe there's something you want to add on that as well. Because that's how when we discussed it and how I read your post, how I also understood it.
Well, I think... and I said it yesterday also in the group. A lot of people, they have self-confidence in things they know, their knowledge, their all their capabilities. But if you would take them and put them in a different situation where this knowledge and these capabilities, well, are not necessary, then a lot of people, they lose their self-confidence. And for me, it's so important to have confidence in yourself with a capital S. And one of the things to reach that, have confidence in yourself, is via self-love. Showing humbleness, not showing how great you are with all the knowledge in you and everything you know and what you do. Can you listen? Can you be there for the other person? It's also being of service. Humbleness is also being of service to other people. And then the self-love will, at least that's how I feel it and how I think about it, will grow. And once the self-love is growing, you're not, how do you say, neediness? You don't grasp to other people. You're not looking for acknowledgement or all these kind of things. You stay out of that, and you can listen, and you can take a meta position, and you have confidence in yourself.
Yeah.
Is this a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's what I think you wanted to. You mentioned.
Yeah.
You mentioned it, but you didn't really elaborate on it.
No.
And I wonder if people are watching, if they say, "Well, how would it mean that I could love myself more if I apply humility?" And I think that's good to know, because it's not that arrogancy. What we said yesterday, it's not about being arrogant. It's about being humble. There is a subtle difference in there.
Yeah.
It's listening to understand rather than saying something to be right and all these things. So,
and again, it's not that you put another person on a pedestal. No, we are equal, but I don't need to show it every time how good I am in things. I don't have to show and convince the other person that I know more. Well, I know more maybe about a part, or let's say about consciousness, than maybe average person. But they know much more about other things that I don't know anything of. So it's not about what you know about that part. It's about, are you open to listen to the whole story?
Yeah, and are you willing to learn? That's what you said,
Yeah.
that willingness for learning. And we all sometimes have that part of the ego that comes in and says, yeah, but I know this a little bit better, or like, and just watching that already is raising your level of consciousness. Like, how can I actually take a step back and let go of that? And I was listening to something, and it was really wonderful. It was one of the Indian stories that. And I shared it with one of the clients I was coaching this morning, and she was like, "It's like my mind really takes over, and I feel something else is better for me, but my ego keeps running and doing the same thing." And I said, "Well, it's funny because I listened to this story, and I think it's from the Bhagavad Gita, and that I actually don't know, but it was referred to a story of the Bhagavad Gita, and." You could see a lot of horses, and then you had a carriage, and you had the person who was, leading the horses on top of the carriage. And that person really thought he was in control, and the horses were doing all the running. And then all of a sudden, he thought the carriage that was underneath him was dark and it was empty. And all of a sudden, he heard a voice coming out of the carriage, and he says, "Who is in this carriage?" And he says, "It's me here who's running the show. I'm the, the one in control." And he said, No. I'm the one in control. It's my carriage." And it came to the story like, your ego can be your servant, but it's not the master. And it was about, the person in that carriage. That when you step back, that's the one who really runs the show. So not letting yourself then be led by the ego that says, "But actually, I'm right, and I want to make a point here." And when you step back and you become the master of your soul, you think, "Oh, actually, this is really important. What is the most important thing here?" And I think that was a lovely combination of, not always think that if you're running to show with your ego that's actually going to be the best solution for everything. So.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think it relates to how our subconscious mind works also.
Absolutely.
You know, the subconscious mind doesn't want to change, and it wants to be right now. And when you are being humble, you show humility, you're slowing down.
Yeah.
And with your conscious mind, you can take over, well, power is not the right word, but you can take over the lead. Instead of that, the subconscious mind is constantly running the show.
Yeah. And you can also say, "Oh, hold on."
Oh, okay, let's calm down here. Let's calm down.
Yeah.
Let's listen. It's not about me, it's about us. And with that, at a certain moment, you feel the self-love coming in. Because you see the benefit for yourself, for the other person. And it's also nice to talk a little bit maybe about the mirror neurons, what happens then. If you see the other person being happy and relaxed, calm, and you see that he or she is really, you're really listening to me, it's genuine, then because you have the mirror neurons, you feel the same as the other person shows to you. The outside world from the other person, you feel it also within yourself. And this doesn't mean that this is what you need, that this is your goal to do it. No, your goal is being genuine, being humble.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many benefits of this.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, I think that was a wonderful sort of sharing of what we find helpful with humility. Hopefully you got something out of that too, and we would love to hear how have you sometimes experienced really the quality of humility in your life. Who was your role model? Who is your role model? Or do you think it's important to have a role model or not? Or are you naturally already a humble person? And how do you show that? What can you advise others to cultivate more of that? So we'd love to know that. And we're very humbled that you are still listening and watching, if you are, and that's really, really wonderful. Thank you.
If they hear you, then they are.
Yeah.
If they hear you saying this, then they are.
They are. Yeah, that's true. And so thank you so much. And I think you wanted to mention something. It's from the Experience Day, 19th of April, we have another Experience Day in Bussum. It's a live one, and there's a few places left, and we're really looking forward to that. Something else?
Go to our website, consciousworldagents.com. Go to the Experience Day, and there you will see if you sign up with 2 persons, then the second person has 50% discount. Yeah,
that's a great offer, and if you've already done this, please share it with your network. And if you've missed some of the previous recordings, they are all now on our YouTube channel, so you can watch them again as well if you've missed them. What else? Next week I start a 4-week course with the 16 guidelines.
Yeah, that's important.
Online as well, so if you want to find out about that, go to solutionways.com, which is my personal website, but there is the link to the 16 guidelines for building inner strength and emotional resilience. It's a 4-week course, starts on a Friday morning, next Friday, 25th of March, and it's 3 hours, 4 weeks on the Friday morning only. So and it's a life-changing course, really is, and it's practical, simple, and very applicable in daily life as well.
Absolutely, and one of the 16 guidelines is humility.
So that's why we went over that today. It really changed my life. I always said if I could give something to my children when they were younger, it's like practical tools for daily life, and it really builds emotional resilience as well. Well, that's it. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Have a very sunny, wonderful weekend, and have fun. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and do at least one good thing for someone else as well.
And beside that, do 2 things that make you happy.
And so it's all in balance. Bye for now. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.